Hello, everyone, and welcome to Four Lads Rangers Friday Night Live. Yes, we know it's 1901. I was fixing my hair, right? Good things come to those who wait. But we do have three immaculately haired people on with us this evening to add some new faces and some new opinions as Kenny and I have been on this week. So I'm going to hand it over to those guys. Sheryl, how are you? You well?
Rangers aside, I am very well, thank you. And I'm delighted to be back with you guys because I haven't been with you for a few weeks. So to be back with you is lovely. Thank you for having me.
And wine is ready?
Refilled and ready, restocked.
Get yourself a wee sip and then tell us about last night and your thoughts of what's going on and how they performed.
Do you know what? I think you guys will all be with me on this. This is, I think, the second European game where I have had just absolutely no buzz beforehand. I think the last few seasons has been like a salve for us, almost disappointing performances in the league. We would always make the standard joke of we would lose or we would draw at Motherwell, but then we would go and beat somebody fairly decent on the Thursday night. We don't have that anymore. The good work that's been done over the last few years is now evaporating at an intensely nuts rate. It's crazy. What are we, second bottom overall so far? I think the Europa League standings, was it 34th, 35th? I don't know, but we're incredibly low compared to where we usually are. So for me, even getting up for the game last night, I'll always watch, I'll always tune in, but that buzz is gone. Even standing outside the game last week, I was speaking to the BBC before we came on, and getting myself up to be able to talk about the game with any kind of excitement was really difficult. It's the usual performance, isn't it? It's the usual thing that we've done in Europe, making really average teams that I think we would have beaten the last few years look incredibly good. We did that. We made Genk and Sturm Graz look far better than we were, and that was due to our tactics and our setup. The two goals that we lost were beyond amateur, despite being told we'll never lose a goal like that again. We maybe don't lose it in the same way, but we lose it in a similarly ridiculous fashion. And every time we lose these goals, I think, right, we can't lose another goal as badly as that. And then, lo and behold, we go on it and we do. I think there was some really poor individual performances. If we're looking for some praise that we can give him, and there's very little, he did change it at half-time, but he did it out of necessity. He had to change it. Homa was really, really poor. Ant-Man looked like he'd borrowed my mum's carpet slippers, and was just dire. We were kind of promised, or we thought we were getting this winger that would get down the byline and at last fire some crosses in. He just keeps cutting in. It didn't work. Martin changed it. He changed things around, but again, because he had to, because his turgid, boring style of football doesn't work for us, and he had to change it. That's the only reason that we looked better in the second half. And as much as we can say we did look better, I don't think he should get a huge amount of praise for that. Rant over.
That was longer than you normally go for, so I must applaud. You've obviously been watching Kenny and I, who speak for a good 20-odd minutes when we're asked something. Andrew, good evening. Welcome, my friend. You were pissed in London watching this, so it might actually have looked a lot better than it actually was. So you're maybe not going to be as negative, but what did you make of last night once you've also sipped your beer? I can't live with this level of alcoholism on my podcast. What's
Stevie, I've had to turn to the drink. You know why? The football has been that bad. And to be honest, I don't think there's an amount of alcohol that I could have safely consumed that would have made that football look any better, really. It's constantly shooting ourselves in both feet. And as Sheryl says, this used to be like a soul for us. This used to be like, well, you know, we might be crap in a league, but at least we'll put in a performance in Europe. And we just fail to do that now as well. And it would be one thing if you could say, well, at least we've picked up domestically, but I don't think I need to remind anyone about how bad we are domestically as well. So it's been atrocious. I'm sure we'll get into the comments post-match. Apparently, all of this is just down to poor mentality. strange that seemed to have been the case at all of his previous clubs as well. Just poor mentality. I wonder if there's a common factor you could bring in across those different clubs to say where that mentality might be coming from. But yeah, it was a lovely evening, as almost always is whenever I meet up with one of the Four Lads guys. I was hosting Doogie, so it was good to see him despite his terrible opinions about almost everything. But again, as ever with meeting up with Four Lads guys, everything's great apart from the actual football. Just appallingly dire stuff. And the worst thing is, it was unsurprising as well, because I don't think there was anyone who went into that match feeling, oh no, we'll change it around. We'll do something tonight. It was, okay, well, what kind of nonsense are we going to get tonight? So, yeah. Anyway, that's why it's Friday night as well. So, go on anyway, Stevie.
Andy, good evening, mate. You've had to wait a very long time to have your say about last night's game. What's your opinion on it?
Well, going into the game, I was, as I always do, trying to find some form of positivity to look forward to watching my beloved team play, and going off of the fact, if there was a time to go and unleash the best of our team and its potential after a late winner that should get you up for the next game, I was quickly reminded, no, I watch Rangers Football Club and I have absolutely no right to have any sort of positive emotion about my team, as the disaster after disaster continued, led by a man that's an enigma wrapped in a bow of contradiction. It got to that point where there was no point in even getting angry at the TV. It was just sitting and basking in this tosh, because I'm going to do my best not to swear, as I did my best not to swear watching the game. That you've got professionals in the park who, again, look like they've never kicked a ball in their lives, never mind kicked a ball in the same team together. Graz, again, not having to look like a good team because we're making them look like a good team for them. It's not like we're getting carved open. We're just giving them the ball in great positions to go and score. And we're continuing to get gaslit as support that we are seeing a completely different game to the manager. And it's our fault for that, And I mean, it's not going to change. This was the point. It was ironically after Livingston, I didn't join in the chantery after we scored late, because I just turned to my dad and said, what's the point in it? Because it doesn't matter really at this rate what we say, because they don't seem to be taking our opinion on board very much. So it's a case of just taking it day at a time, game at a time, until it finally clicks for them. The statement that we have been calling for weeks and months now, that this isn't working, that there's so many signs of it, regression in the team, in terms of the relationship from the club to support, in the terms of the players themselves, the players you brought in, minus Kisama. But even then, you can make an argument that all these goals have come in Europe and not in the league. And I think, as Sheryl said, Ant-Man's a key example of that. First game, looked like a star, looked like the player we wanted him to be, and it's been trained out of him. He's now a B-grade cut inside merchant, which any team good enough to be in any European competition can defend if you just repeat, which is what we do, until we are faced with the prospect of 2-0 down, and then we decide, actually, is this football we're supposed to be playing? And then they go and do football and throw caution to the wind. But again, it's just throwing things at a wall and hoping it sticks. And this whole thing about, there was positives to take from the second half. No, the second half was part of a 90-minute game in which Rangers lost. That's the only thing that matters. I don't buy this nonsense of, it's positive this, positive that. Similar to Barry Ferguson, when we didn't win, I'm angry about it, and I hope they're angry about it. And that's the only time I'll link Barry to me, because we're a bit different in terms of football philosophy, but the standards with the club is something that sticks and resonates between us both.
News for you, Andrew. I doubt they care very much. I would also like to say I also didn't join in on the Russell Martin chants at the end of the game. Accusations that I started them are just not worth a comment, I'm afraid. Moving very quickly on, Sheryl, I remember being in a press conference, and you might even have been there when he said that we will not lose goals as bad as we lost tonight. And to be fair to him, he's kind of correct, because we went levels away above that. And when you take throw-ins how we do, and then sit in a press conference and say we're fine from throw-ins. I remember watching Panathinaikos and being absolutely fucking terrified every time we have a throw. So I'm not sure where that happened. The same in Pilsen as well. You know, we're the only team that can get a goal kick and look and make the other team look like they're odds on to score. So I don't get that. But why? We know why, but I don't know. How is this happening?
Do you know what I don't get is that thing about, it's a mentality thing. The mentality was nothing to do with why we lost those 2 goals last night. It was the setup. Players don't have a clue what they're meant to be doing, Stevie. They look like they don't know what they're meant to be doing, and that isn't changing. You know, he came in, and we all know, and something I actually wanted to ask you about, because I know that you guys got to speak to him very briefly around this thing of him not changing his style of play. And if I remember correctly, he had spoken to a small group of fan media and said that he felt that was really unfair, that criticism of his time down south, that he was prepared to do that, or he was prepared to change it, and he didn't think that was fair stick. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. We met Russell and spoke to him in the summer, and he said that he felt that the reporting of his time at Southampton was unfair, and that he did change his tactics and he did adapt. So yeah, you remember it correctly.
To go back to that, okay, he's implementing this new style of play. We know it'll take a wee while. It's not going to be up and running straight away, but he could not have asked for a better run of games domestically or in Europe to be able to implement that style of play, to get the players up and running. But still now, in October, they look like they do not have a Scooby what's going on. You know, we've seen Ant-Man. I think he had something like 17 assists last season. His 1 assist came, if I believe correctly, in the first game that he played with us, where he was I think he signed, what was it? Was it Pilsen, his first game with us? I think he played the day after he signed for us, so he hadn't had any coaching and input, and that's where his 1 assist came from. It's not working. We've seen him change it slightly, but again, like I said earlier, he changed it yesterday in the second half because he had to, not because he wanted to, not because that was what he preferred to do. He had no choice, because the system that he used in the first half did not work, and it left us 2-0 down.
Yeah, that was my next question, lads. That Cheryl's right. I think that the times that we actually look like we're decent and look like we are, and this confuses me as well, because I've asked him several times and he says it's not about tactics. So why, when he changes the tactics, do we look better if it's not about tactics? And that's just me. Look, I'm just a simple wee guy. Definitely simple, definitely wee. And I just wonder why anytime the philosophy goes out the window, Rangers start to actually look like they might remember where the goal is, Andrew. But it's always when we're chasing. It's always when, it's never from the front foot. We don't, or we very rarely have started a game right on it, 100%, and go for the jugular. It's always reactionary, and at most times we're ripping things up. I mean, Jack Butland, Christ's sake, he's probably been up for corners more than he's been in his whole career in the last 6 weeks, and I think that tells you a lot. So why is it, if it's not about tactics, why is it when he changes the style and the tactics, do we suddenly look in any way dangerous?
I mean, if you wanted to be incredibly generous, you could say, well, it's Russell Martin implementing the tactics when we're chasing the game as well. But it isn't tactics when we're chasing the game. It's throw on all 3 strikers and pray something happens. And I mean, it's not like we look to have immense tactics before that, because as far as I could tell, our entire game plan, when we were still remotely competitive in that game, was get the ball to Gassama and hope he runs at them and does something. That appeared to be our only strategy. And then when we're chasing the game, it's, okay, let's just take off defenders. Let's just kind of try and shoehorn in some defenders somewhere in the back there, maybe a back three or even a two if we're really going for it, and then throw strikers on, throw wingers on, and hope that something happens. But there's no purpose. There's no tactical nous or awareness that I can see. It is all just flinging stuff at the wall, praying something sticks, and nothing is. We were promised that we were going to get a manager with a strong philosophy who would have a clear idea about how he wanted his teams to set up, that we would play on the front foot, attacking football, would be possession-based, but it would be with the desire to score goals and to win games. We've won 5 out of 16 games. And you could probably argue that we've not really looked comfortable in many of those. We've certainly not put together a 90-minute performance for any of the wins. And the less said about the draws and the losses that we've experienced, the better. So footballing philosophy is what we were promised. I'm yet to see it. And the only examples of it that I have seen have been stuff that, Stevie, you could probably do. You're a wizard football manager. So I think, you'd be able to smash this. But it's ridiculous. It really is. It's just far, far below the standards of where Rangers Football Club should be. And it has been for far too long.
Agreed. James says, is that not what you do when you're chasing a game? Yeah, it is. But we're chasing every game. And when that starts to happen, James, in case you've missed it, we've got really big problems. Andy, we need to talk about the players. We need to, because it's not all on Russell Martin. James Tavernier's throwing last night, the positioning of players. We can say tactics and everything else, but they have a brain. They're experienced footballers. That line for the second goal, they are getting that as tactics. That's how they've been taught to defend, but they let people waltz by them. The application from some of them, again, looks miles off. And we can talk about Ant-Man, we can talk about Asgard, we can talk about, Meghoma, about being really poor, and I think they were. But the players shouldn't get off with this lightly. And it shouldn't all be on the management, who, to be fair, there is so much to blame with them. I absolutely get it, and it's not a defence of them. But how come, let's flip it the other way then and say, how come when we do change the tactics and we do go for it a bit, they suddenly get their finger out their arse? So there's two ways to look at it. And I don't think we can avoid the fact that these players are massively underperforming, which leads me to believe that there's some of them that have completely given up when it comes to what they're being told to do and who's in the dugout for them. What's your thoughts on the players?
Oh, it's a mentality problem. No, it's not. It's clearly isn't. It strikes me as they don't.
We're going to come to the mentality thing in a minute, but
it's to me as if they're hearing what Martin's saying at times and interpreting it the wrong way. It seems almost like they're unsure of where they need to be, what they need to do, who they need to mark, and the positions they take up. I think Shooter's positioning on the throw-in, first and foremost, I think was I can understand it, but if you're not switched on to then be a step ahead of where you need to be once the ball's in play, i.e. get back onto the line so you're not playing everybody on side even, to that extent, never mind who else is covering spaces to your side and so on. It's just that being unsure leads to then kind of throwing yourself into a loop of where am I in relation to him, and then that leads to confusion along the entire back line in that case. The set piece, the line in that one is unbelievable, but set pieces in Rangers are there's nothing new. So yeah, the players themselves, I think, as you've kind of led to the fact that it's just when we throw everything at a game. I think that's just the basics of being a footballer. You've played football all your life. In our case, we threw Danilo on, Bojan Miovski on, you put Mikey Moore on, and it just went to Moore's case. He wanted the ball to run at folk, because that's pretty much hardwired into his kind of archetype of what kind of player he is. With Chamiti, Majowski, they wanted to take up attacking positions regardless of whether they were supposed to be there in terms of the shape, which again, when you throw in everybody, the shape goes to whatever shape it ended up being. Again, I'm not going to swear. Danilo wanted to be in and amongst the penalty box as well, but he wanted to link up, which I think leads to more questions. I don't think he's an out-and-out striker. Again, he wants to be close to other players to work off them, which is why he kind of just sat at the edge of the box at times. That's just I play this position. What does that basically do? Which is similar to the fact that they posted the whole message about what they expect from Russell Martin's football philosophy about aggression and pressing hard, dictating the tempo. I said that I read that out to my mum last night. I said, "Is that not just the definition of what a football manager does?" There's nothing. That's not a. He does that only. Every manager that hopes to be successful does this. Every team that wants to be a winning team does this. We just seem like you've stuck in those kind of last 20, 30 minutes. You've stuck the players on one wheel, the positions on the other wheel, and you've spanned both of them, and then whatever it's landed on was what it went to. Which even was funny enough when you put Jack Butland up, because it doesn't seem like the Butland and Striker have landed together. So strange. There is no theory behind how poor we are through 70 minutes, and then the change to how so-called positive we are in the last 30. Because even then, the word positivity, like positive near any of that performance, is so wide of the mark for me. It's unbelievable.
Positive from last night was at least the performance of Kasama. I thought Nico Raskin was pretty good in the second half, but Nico's problem will always be that he takes it upon himself to do everything. So when Nico goes charging about, the spaces are massive. If only we had said to buy a number 6. I put aside of that, Jack Butland made some good saves. I don't blame him for the first one because it's just unlucky. It goes through people. I think he's unsighted possibly, and then he doesn't react. I have real issues with John Souttar at the moment, and the way he's playing and the way he's defending. He's costing us goals. He's doing some crazy things. And then I watch him for Scotland, and he's just like Colin Henry used to be for Scotland. And I wonder exactly what's going on. So I have real issues with the individual players, Sheryl. And then we come on to this stuff in the press conference from Russell Martin. He refuses to attribute any blame to his tactics. I've never once heard him say that he needs to look at himself and he needs to do better. It's always individuals. It's always on the players. It's never himself. And now it's a mentality issue. That mentality issue is a severe one because it's followed him from NK Dons to Swansea to Southampton, and now it's up to Rangers. And I've seen all the screenshots today. His whole thing is blame it on the mentality. This is when it becomes really difficult, because especially when you're in a rut, not to think he's just absolutely talking nonsense to cover him own self, and there's nothing there. There's no accountability for him. If he came out and he said, you know what, this isn't working, I need to have a look at myself and what I'm asking the players, people would go, thank goodness, right, okay, he's going to go and look at it, let's see what Sunday brings. But the more he does it, and Andrew used a word called gaslighter, which is interesting. It's a big word, so I struggle to know what that means, Sheryl. You're clever, you'll be able to explain it to me. But it certainly feels like it. And it feels like the things he's saying to us, it's almost like he believes he's right no matter what. And when you're trying to tell that to supporters who are going through what we're going through currently, it's difficult to accept.
Yeah, and that's why I made reference, Stevie. I remember, obviously, we know that he wasn't a popular appointment, but I think we can all be honest and say, when he was appointed and people made their feelings about it, we wanted it to work well. Right? There was nobody that sat there and thought, you know what, I don't want him and I hope he fails and I hope come October we're doing piss poor in the league and we're awful in Europe. Everybody wanted it to be a success. And that's why I had made reference, because I, like a lot of other people, knew of his reputation of not changing things and really digging down and whether it was working or not, sticking with that same style of play, which we all suspected would not work up here, and it hasn't. But I was reassured by the conversation that you guys had with him that he felt that wasn't fair criticism, that he was willing to change things, but that's a pile of nonsense. And like I said earlier, the mentality thing had nothing to do with the players not really having a great idea of where they should be or what they should be doing, or that ridiculously high line that has been in the instructions for that second goal. So he's hanging them out to dry. He's absolutely hanging these players out to dry. He's taken no responsibility for it whatsoever, and I think that's a huge part of the huge chasm that's between him and the supporters now. He's not listening to him is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous because you know you're not going to hear what we can all see. And I know there was an element with Clement, a wee bit of that last season, but I almost wondered if that was a kind of trying to take the heat off the players slightly, going the other way and trying to protect them slightly. I didn't know if there was a wee bit of a language thing there. I know that Clement was accused of gaslighting. I didn't ever feel that. But with Martin, absolutely. It's almost pointless listening to him because you know you're not going to get the truth. And actually what you're going to listen to is going to actually make you shake with rage. I mean, Stevie, we were in that press conference. Who was it? It was the Hearts press conference where it almost beggared belief. It was horrendous. I remember very clearly 4 minutes and 15 seconds. And the arrogance that came from it was quite staggering and massively misplaced as well. He's not good to listen to. He's hanging these players out to dry. And the mentality thing, that's his job. That's his job to fix. If he's identifying that, that's his thing to get in there and sort. Do you know? Sorry,
Well, let's not get crazy. The head coach sorting things out that he keeps talking about. Andrew, should he be laughing in his post-match interviews? Should he be so? Because, you know, I wasn't laughing last night. Watch how me and Kenny were trying to, you know, podcast in front of a 10,000 strong live audience and give our honest opinions without shouting and swearing. And then we go and see our head coach who just has a laugh, and it comes across all wrong because it comes across as somebody that doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks and that no matter what happens, I'm here anyway. So you can all fuck off and I'm going to do it the way I am, rightly or wrongly. And because of the position we're in, that's how people interpret that. So the question is, should he be acting like that? Should he be laughing away? Because it almost feels like that's directed at us and he doesn't care. Is that harsh?
No, I don't think it's all. I think you're absolutely right. I think the problem that you've got is that you, as you guys have all said, there's an arrogance about Russell Martin in that it is the player's fault, or it's the fact the transfer window is still open, or that, you know, these guys have got offers from somewhere else, or, you know, it's a mentality thing, or, you know, we had a red card, or it's always
Raskin, or it's Hamza.
the sky is the wrong color, or
small kids are sticking up their middle finger at him.
Exactly.
He was ill, remember? He almost couldn't get out of bed one game. He was ill, remember? Yeah.
His mum's worried about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know for a fact that Stevie looks like a
small
kid.
Also, remember, it's not about him. I tell you.
No, it's never Russell Martin's fault. It is always, you know, there's something else that's to blame here, and that was the most annoying. Well, not even. It was the most damning thing about the comments last night is that, again, none of this is surprising to us. It's been the same playbook that we've had after every match so far, even when he's won. Those rare occasions where that's happened, it's been, okay, well, you know, need to have a dig at someone for claiming that my players aren't looking coached or something like that. It feels quite thin-skinned, which, you know, going into manage Rangers Football Club, you know you need to be resilient. And I suspect there's an element of that where he doesn't look like he's taking things seriously, in that he's trying to let it wash over him. But the problem is, these fans, like Rangers fans, live and breathe this. They're our team. We want them to be successful. And when they're not, we take it as a personal affront, especially when the person who's meant to be in charge of it is blaming absolutely everything other than himself. So, yeah, it's not acceptable. It should be treated as, no, we didn't win. Obviously, there could be many factors in this, but I'm the manager, so I got to take responsibility for that. And he doesn't show any signs of doing that.
Andy, Rangers marauding man of steel at right back Max Aarons said that he was a little bit worried about the fans' comments and that they're really affecting the players and that they're not able to play properly because of this. I'm honestly not going to call him a mentally weak little something, but I'm going to ask you your thoughts on it, because I just wonder, see, this is where I've been spoiled, because I grew up with John Brown, and Bomber would have absolutely tore somebody's head off if he came out with that shite. And if he didn't get to them, Ian Ferguson would. And if Ian Ferguson didn't get to them, then you'd have to deal with McCoy, Durant, Gorham, and everybody else. Some might say they're proper men. And then nowadays we've got a guy saying, aye, but the fans are really affecting us and they're shouting at us. Man up. Get a grip. This is Rangers. See, if you don't want to be here, bugger off back down south. Nobody will care. Thanks for your efforts. Off you pop. But that makes us look weak. And he looks like a weakling. I don't want that from my players. I want my players to actually go, do you know what? I'm going to prove them all wrong, the way McCoy did, the way Hateley did, the way that even to an extent, Borna Barisic, and he was criticised for his, but he still came back and he still gave it a go. Our players now at the moment, fans are shouting at us. It really affects us. Fucking get a grip.
I said that I think it was after the Hearts game. I think I recalled you and Cameron tweeted something like, "The pressure is on you, Rangers." And my first instinct that is, well, that pressure is a privilege. As a professional footballer, that means you're playing at a team, a club, or in some cases in our team, your country, which is the top of your occupation as a footballer. You're playing in a European competition for a club who has, in recent years, set a standard of going past the group stage or group phase last season. Has been to the final in recent memory, twice in recent memory, if you want to go back to 08. That's the standard that has been beset upon you when you joined this club. Did you not expect it to be continuing as soon as you signed in the dotted line in your contract? Did you expect all that expectation to disappear? Or are you not physically, mentally strong enough to match that? Are you not cut out to play for Rangers, to wear the jersey? Is it too heavy, as they said? And I think in Max Aaron's case, it is. I think he's done himself absolutely no favours making that comment. After bailing himself out of the abyss of anger that I had towards him after the Bruges red card, he scores the winner at Almond View, which didn't ruin my afternoon. I was there, and he made the bus drives back slightly easier. To then say that after that performance has put him right back in that pit of anger. For a guy who played at the Bernabeu, he played it against Barcelona and won at Valencia, played in the Premier League, you're going to tell me you can't handle Graz away for Rangers? It's like, I cannot understand it. But I mean, this is nothing new, evidently, with this team. I don't think there's enough leadership experience as a whole. I mean, I think in terms of, you look at the other side of that back line, I think Magoma, who some games can look brilliant, some games can look like a lost child in the park. Last night falls into the latter there. I think it was by no means a great performance. I don't think it was a good performance. And again, as I said, I don't think anybody classes having a good performance when you get beat. You get okay with Gassama in Butland, in my opinion, because we still get beat. And that's nothing new, that you can be a standout and you can be a good. That's nothing new. And it's just the fact that you're looking slightly better than the rest of your teammates who look like they've never played football in their life. I think it's more of a measuring stick comparison that annoys me with that. But this word of mentality and not willing to,
don't you think it's just creating an excuse for them already, though?
Yeah.
Because then you see Cornelius come out with the mentality stuff as well. It's like, here, lads, we're shite. We'll blame it on mentality. and then the players pick that up and just go, yeah, their mentality's wrong. What? Mentality does not stop you from picking players up, following runners. It doesn't stop you from doing anything. That's performance on the pitch. And I think when you create excuses for weaklings, they will run with what you give them.
In Cornelius' case, he's been here, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? So, and in that time, he did his welcome to the club interview on Rangers TV, in which he said, it's a privilege to play at a club of this stature. And already he's saying, maybe not that big a stature, essentially. Which, again, how did you not know what you were getting into? And he doesn't have the excuse of being signed really early in the summer before it all went the way it's gone. He was here. He's seen the league openers, the qualifiers. You could see where it was going, and we could see where it was going from well before that. I think it was pointed out during pre-season that we do look shaky at best, but it's, as you said, Steve, you get players, but you don't have to look too far back. These guys who would rip your head off for making a mistake that we do routinely nowadays. And it's embarrassing, because as a footballer, anytime I had the chance to lay it on somebody and get the blood and thunder going, you do it. That's part of the game. How can you fall so far away from what it was and what is required of you? And it's enjoying the lavish life of it whilst not doing what's required. I'm so frustrated with the way that these players are reacted to this challenge, because they knew there would be a challenge. New manager coming in place, a season like we had last year. The challenge was set for them, and they have fallen so far short of the mark to take up this mantle of responsibility to push us towards where we want to be, lay a glove on the opposition for once, across the city. We just have no reach towards them at this minute. And for me, with the league campaign being so poor, Europe, as we said, was a comfort blanket for us in recent seasons, and even that's been pulled off us now. 2 games where we had to win, we've not even got a point from. It's awful, and there's no sugarcoating it.
Sheryl, moving away from the on-field matters, the off-field matters, we saw confrontation with executives this morning all over social media. 2 gentlemen having their say with Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell. And before we start this, I'm going to say a couple of things. I know both of them. I'm not going to name them, but they go absolutely everywhere to see Rangers. I mean, home, away, reserves, all sorts. 2 of the most stand-up lads you can meet. And they're hurting because they feel the way we all do or should do. There's no criticism of them for me, because I get it. I've been there. And to me, the more people that do that, and keep it respectful, keep it, I know it's emotional and a few swear words and everything else, the executives have got to know. And that whole situation probably doesn't start if Patrick Stewart doesn't just shake his head and laugh away and go past them, which is what happened. That's the kind of contempt that we feel like we're getting treated with. And when that happens last night, it's not going to be a situation that I'm going to complain about or I'm going to say anything other than these 2 lads follow Rangers everywhere. They're entitled to their opinion. I admire what they do and where they go and everything else. And honestly, I admire a wee bit of what they did last night in terms of the way they stood up for their club, because this is their club. It's our club. It's not the executive club. It's not Kevin Thelwell's. It's not Paddy Stewart's. And maybe a few home truths were more than warranted.
Absolutely. Listen, good for them, because other than that, these guys have got a fairly easy life. It's easy to ignore the protests. It's easy to look away and the other way from a banner that comes out. And I'm certainly not encouraging people to run at them or challenge them all the time, but I don't think this will have done either of them any harm whatsoever, because they need to know the strength of feeling that's out there. I'm sure they'll have an awareness of it, but up until now, they will probably have been able to ignore it to an extent. This club means everything to so many people. It is such a big thing for so many people's family lives. I absolutely love going with my son. We're starting to go to more away games. We've got a generation of fans that are coming up and that are getting used to watching absolute dirge. The only thing that I can say is we seem to be kind of breeding little middle finger flicking little dudes that are quite passionate about the team and that are not going to ignore this and maybe aren't going to get put off by what they're seeing. They're going to get involved in protests, etc. Hats off to these guys. I think they did the right thing. I think they took it to these guys. They cannot ignore it any longer. It's not changing. Nothing is getting any better. Regardless of whether you have a season ticket, whether you're Managers, you spend, what we all do, we spend a huge amount of money, be it on kits, first, second, third, fourth kit, which I believe they might be holding back on at the moment. But people will give up on holidays. They'll not have certain things so that they can fund a season ticket, so that they can make sure that they're getting along at the games, that they're buying the merch, etc. I think these guys were absolutely in the right. And like you, Stevie, I applaud them. I think they did the right thing, and I certainly wouldn't criticise them. Absolutely not. I don't know. One thing I wanted to ask you guys about was I think it was Patrick Stewart that I believe said, who do you want in, or who do you want as the manager?
Well,
How was it?
I was about to talk about that. The reaction to it, Andrew, of, well, who do you want, or who would you go and get? That to me is, again, arrogance and contempt, because that's not a question like, well, who would you want? What's the solution here? The way it's asked, the way it's said, it's as if, well, who do you want to get that can be better? You know, and that's the way it's interpreted. Now, it might not have been that, and he might not have meant it that way, but the problem is when you're in this cycle, that's how it's taken. And that's how it's interpreted for me, a sheer arrogance and contempt for the fans daring, by the way, to question them and say, how is this acceptable that we've got 5 wins in 16? By the way, our form record looks like a Welsh team, and that's thanks to Russell Martin. What point do we accept, or what do we make of that comment, that throwaway line of who do you get? That's not our job. That's not our responsibility. We're fans. It's your responsibility to get that right. You clearly haven't got this one right. And the more you stick your head in the sand, the worse this is going to get. The banner said you're delaying the inevitable. Can we really disagree with that? Because I can't.
No. Listen, if you're a pragmatic businessman, it is very, very sensible to admit when you've made a mistake rather than throwing good money after bad. And that's what this is. You can have a managerial philosophy. You can have a footballing structure. That's the whole point of a director of football, as far as I understand it. The idea is that any point within the football table, like the footballing structure beneath the director of football, should be replaceable. And you should have a list of people ready to go who can slot into that position, that still fit with your philosophy, that still slot into your picture of how the football should be. And you can do that relatively easily. And that should be constantly updated and maintained. I will give some credit to Thelwell because he at least looks invested. He looks like he cares. Motivations around, ensuring that other family members of his still keep their jobs, one thing or another. But Patrick Stewart just looked disinterested, like he didn't care. He just wanted to leave, which fair enough. Like, long day, had to travel. You probably don't want to have a conversation with a Rangers fan with a pint in hand, especially when you're the target of their ire. But it's still not a good look for you to just refuse to front up to your responsibility, to your role within this. Because these guys are responsible, ultimately. There's been anger directed at Russell Martin, for sure. But we've seen that anger is being directed towards Thelwell and Stewart as well, because they are complicit. They are part of this structure. And they contribute directly to what we're watching right now, which is a football team that looks like it's going backwards in stages, that has taken all the positives that it just about had last season and has thrown those away as well, to the point where we've made the worst start in living memory for the majority of our fans. And we don't look like we're getting any better. We don't look like there's light around the corner. The only light that's coming down the end of the tunnel is an oncoming train, It does not look impressive. It does not look good. So,
just to pick up, sorry, Andrew, on what you said about Patrick Stewart, I think you're 100% right. I don't think he gets us. I don't think he gets us at all. We've seen that rushed out statement about the banner. Ever since then, it just appears that he has very little interest in us or understanding of us and what we're about as a club or a fan base. So I think you're 100% right.
And I mean, I want to touch on a point that Andrew S. made as well, which is the pressures of privilege, right? But that pressure is not just for the players. It comes down to the management, and it comes down to the CEO, owners, operators, everyone else as well. Of course, there's high levels of demand. Of course there is, because this is a football club that is the best team in Scotland, regardless of what anyone else might want to say. And I think it should be treated and ran appropriately as a result of that. And it's being neglected by the vast majority of people who are involved in its running at the moment. Because that's what this is. Persisting with Russell Martin, persisting with him when he's looked like he's doing active damage to the football, when he's costing us money. Because for the first time I can ever remember, I saw empty seats in the away end for Rangers in the European night. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. And fans are staying away and will continue to stay away, and the numbers will grow because the football doesn't look like it's getting any better. So this is the point where you're actively costing the club money now. You're actively damaging the club because revenue is going to dry up. Sheryl's made the point. We spend an awful lot of money on this football club. Even folk who aren't going to every game, you're still spending money on the club. That dries up. That goes away. And it's going to get worse unless a change is made.
Falkirk on Sunday gives Rangers a chance to get another domestic performance under their belt. I say another, but they have beaten Hibs and Livingston. It's only the European games in between that have only the European games. Jesus, what have I reduced myself to? It's the European games in between that have thrown out a spanner in the works. So we now need to go and do something against Falkirk. We want to see more from Gassama. We want to see that urgency that they had in the second half. We want to see them pick up the 20-odd minutes against Livingston and run with it a wee better. We want to see them create more chances again like they did last night. So there was some welcome bits and pieces. We need to try and bring that all together, Andrew. We need to try and get positive. What we all hope for a bit better, don't we? We all hope for 3 points. We hope for a bit more positivity from Falkirk on Sunday, which won't be easy because they will come and have a right go. They had a go at Hibs, I think, and drew 2 each as well. So they will have a go at Rangers, knowing that Rangers are slightly fragile. That pitch won't help Rangers either. But we can't afford to wallow. We have to go and win this game. And if we don't, that's another discussion for what happens in the international break. But there's no other option, like it is every time, just to go and win this game. How would you change it? What would you do come Sunday?
Well, first and foremost, it's the going back to this whole thing. I think I seen somebody, one of the Nottingham Forest fans, saying, "I actually want us to get beat so they can actually take action on the manager." Whereas, again, I don't subscribe to that. I want Rangers to be successful every game. I wanted Russell Martin. I didn't want him to come in as soon as he was appointed. I wanted him to be a great success. I wanted him to be a manager to take us into the next era of, in my lifetime, one of the first few eras of potential Rangers dominance, with a good backing of the new ownership group coming in. We've not seen that, but I still hope it can happen. My issue is I don't have any form or history to go off of with this, because it's, as you said, it's 20 minutes here, it's 15 minutes there, it's half an hour there. We haven't seen 90 minutes. That being said, as you rightly pointed out, the Hibs game in the Cup, the Livingston game in the league, we have seemed to have maybe, well, I was going to say stop the rot domestically, but I think it's still a wee bit too generous of where we are, because you're maybe 4 minutes away from a one each against one of the newly promoted teams. Now you've got to face the other one who came up away from home in a stadium where they do seem to just be giving it their all and not caring who the opposition is, because they're willing to give it their best shot and see how they go. Because this is just the way that the mentality is at Falkirk. They're up. We're going to make the most of it. We're going to say sod it. It doesn't matter who we're going to play. We're going to go give them a tough run, and that's happened. And we're the next target for it. A target for everybody, mind you, because we're not there's no fear factor with us now, home or away, domestically, which we need to try and rebuild. So they'll want to give us a right good go from the off. We need to be strong, assert ourselves in the game, dictate the tempo, which is the thing, the opening statement. Russell Martin's announcement said we want to play aggressive football that dictates the tempo. Football's been played at us in Europe and in most of the games in those spells where we don't look like a Rangers team. Where the game is just played at us and we're just reacting. We need to be on the front foot, which I'm hoping maybe Gisama can be a kind of leader in that forefront and getting him the ball, encouraging him to be positive. Because he, as you said, and I know I was quite harsh on him earlier on, but again, we didn't win, so I don't feel the need to be positive. If he can go and get his league accounts open, and good, because he certainly has been one of the few stars in the European business so far, at least. I'd like a Tello Asgard to do something that warrants me saying anything else other than the Norway performance was a fluke. Because again, I can only say we will do X, Y, and Z off of background, and it's happened this way, it's happened that, but nothing. I've got no positive things to lean on to suggest that this could happen now. There's no form table for any of the players that's positive, so I really want them to start in whatever way they need to do it. If it's firing into challenges, aggression, shouting, just the basics. If you can start to do the basic things well, you're putting us in the right direction, which may lead to a more complete performance. But again, I'm just trying to spark hope, because there's no form table data or any metric at all that would suggest that that's going to happen.
Before we end tonight, I'll say a couple of things. This podcast is opinion only from match-going Rangers fans. It doesn't make us right. We don't tell people we're right. I certainly don't think I'm right all the time. Am I hot-headed? Do I react emotionally? Absolutely, yes, I do. If it's negative, it's because of what we're seeing. You only have to go back to the 4-3 victory against Dundee when Kenny and I come on post-match and we were about 80 points behind or something in the league and it was going nowhere. And Kenny and I are practically giddy because we've just scored and beaten Dundee in the last minute. We are all Rangers fans here and we all want Rangers to win. And the comments that I referred to last night are still happening where this is so negative. It's negative because of what we're seeing. And this is a Rangers team that has won 5 games in 16 matches. It's completely unacceptable. Anybody that believes it's acceptable or believes it needs time or believes anything else is entitled to do that. I simply will never, ever accept that. This is Rangers. And the moment we forget that and we accept that 8th place in the league and getting beat by average jobber sides in Europe, which I'm sorry, Genk and Graz very much were, is acceptable and okay, then we're not going to sugarcoat it for you, I'm afraid. This needs to be a hell of a lot better. And then the onus and the spotlight is on Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi. It's on Patrick Stewart. It's on Kevin Thelwell. It's on massively Russell Martin. And it's on the players. And it doesn't stop with one person. It's not a show where we blame anyone. But it's a show that wants Rangers to win. And it wants Rangers to excel. And at the moment, what we're watching is way below levels that is acceptable for Rangers Football Club. And the moment we begin to shine that is the moment when I'll say, we're not doing this podcast anymore. Until then, we'll keep it real and we'll say what we think. And that is, at this very moment in time, this is way below Rangers Football Club. Sheryl, thank you, my pal. Andrew, much appreciated, everyone. We really, really appreciate it. Before we go, if I can just say a huge thank you to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview, Fire Extinguishers and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, and our partners, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. If you wish to become a podcast member, which you'll get some new shows, and it's basically you're helping the show. I think we do 20, 25 hours free content every single month, and that helps us. It helps the guys get a wee bit of pocket money. It helps. Well, I don't drink them anymore, but when I was chubby, I did drink them, and I'll probably be back to being chubby soon. Let's be honest. I start eating, so because it's getting to that stage where I'm quite depressed. So yeah, if you want to help us, we really, really appreciate it. And there's been such a good response from last night and tonight with people doing that, so we really, really appreciate it. Let's hope we win on Sunday. That's all we want. I should be there on Sunday. Hopefully going with Rhino guys. So there'll be a match day vlog with Jim, Mark and Mando and all the guys over there. Fingers crossed. Rangers go and get 3 points and perform. That's all we want. It would be nice to do that and be able to do a post-match on Sunday night and be positive about that. So good luck to the players. Good luck to the manager. Let's hope we go and do that. Thanks everyone for joining us. Have a great weekend. Apparently it's windy out there, so be careful. No football for the wee man tomorrow. His game's been postponed, so it might be a day in and maybe watch some other football down south and things like that. All on legal telly, may I add. On that note, folks, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your Friday, Saturday, and hopefully for Sunday, Rangers produce the goods. Good night, take care, and have fun. Bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.